Bobby here for Peak Performance Academy. In today's Coach's Corner, we're going to talk about meal timing and is it affecting your fat loss. So the important thing to think about here with meal timing is a lot of people have this perception that you can't eat after a certain time of the day, or I need to eat straight after my workout or all my gains are going to be gone. I need to hit this protein window and all these things. So timing is a big thing in people's perception of nutrition. So when we look at timing, so you say, for instance, you get up in the morning. Do you have to have breakfast? Is it the most important meal of the day? No. That's something that hasn't been proven. Or there's not much research or no study showing, yes, we need to eat breakfast. A lot of people work really well with getting up and having some breakfast in the morning, which is absolutely fine. For most people, do you need a lot of carbohydrates in the morning? Preferably not, because probably your last meal at night time would have been a carby based meal. Maybe your dinner time would have been later in the evening, and you have all that energy in your body. So do you need to start off your day with carbohydrates? If you're training in the morning, meal timing towards carbohydrate intake, I would say, would be something you could look at. So let's say you get up in the morning at 6 a.m, you might have something like a coffee, you get some water into you to rehydrate your body from the night's sleep, and then you go and you do your workout. So the important thing about when you work out is you create a stress response in the system. So we're in that sympathetic tone, that fight or flight tone, which we need when we work out. We need that good energy. So what we want to do after our workouts, we want to bring ourselves back into more parasympathetic tone, that rest and digest. So what I find is really important is to let somebody do their workout. They take in adequate water during their workout. They might look to some type of amino acids, BCAAs. They're your essential aminos that you could take during your workout, especially somebody that would sweat a lot in their training sessions and would have a little bit of intensity in their training sessions. So that's what I would look at there. And then when I look at meal timing post-workout, I would always say to somebody, look, let's not eat straight away. Let's get ourselves into parasympathetic tone, get the digestive system working right, because remember, when we're in that sympathetic tone, our digestive system will be down-regulated and it will not function at its utmost. So what we want to do is we want to get back into that parasympathetic tone, and then maybe an hour later, after our workout, an hour and 10, an hour and 20 minutes, we start to have our first meal, which will be predominantly, if we've been lifting weights, we want to be looking at some type of carbohydrates and some form of protein. That's kind of meal timing there I would speak about. The rest of your meals during the day is all to do, now we talk about a thing called MPS, muscle protein synthesis. And the big thing is a lot of nutrition coaches and coaches would speak about having equally spaced meals through the day. Is there anything to back that in terms of research? Not necessarily. I mean, if a person can eat adequate amount of protein in a day, so whatever your goal is, we'll say for instance if it was 2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight, and you evenly space that out through the day, or you put it in 2 to 3 meals or 4 meals or 5 meals, it doesn't really make an overall difference, because at the end of the day what we want to do is we're within a calorie figure, so we want to hit a certain amount of calories to match the goal we have, and then we break down our macros. So we have our carbohydrate intake, we have our protein intake, and we have our fat intake, and we have our fiber intake, and after that we have our water intake, our hydration, and then we can have that in any variation. So we look at post-workout, we want to leave about an hour and 10, just to let the body relax, get back into that parasympathetic tone, maybe take on a bit more fluid, rehydrate again after your training session, and then let the body settle down, and then you go in and you have your meal, predominantly going to be protein and carbohydrate based. Then your next meal you can space out at any particular time. Again guys, you have to look at meal timing as in, if you take in all your calories in one meal, the one thing you're going to create is a lot of discomfort in your digestive tract. That's going to be a problem. So again, we could say, let's space our meals out a little bit more. Now there's no certain timings, it's just making sure that you're hitting your macros according to your goal and your preference of what you're trying to do. Build muscle, lose weight, change body composition, whatever it may be. Sports, if you're in a certain sport, what's the energy system? What is the energy system used in this sport? If you're in a long duration sport, something that lasts between 60 minutes to 90 minutes, you would be looking at predominantly carbohydrates and fat. And then you would be taking on some adequate protein, but look at the energy system that's been used there. And you look at the macro that's required. So meal timing around your workout, I think, is important, and the rest of the day, it's just a matter of suiting your schedule and fitting in your correct amount of meals in terms of hitting your overall figure. That's the most important, guys. The body does not have a clock. where you suddenly at 8 o'clock at night, if you eat after 8 o'clock, you put on body fat. Absolutely not. If you go to bed at night and you eat a meal at 9 o'clock and you go to bed at 10, and it's a big meal at 9 o'clock and you wake up in the morning, you will be heavier on the scales, because you will have that food intake in your digestive tract, in your system, which will tell on the scales. But again, you let that whole process digest and you go away yourself the next morning and say you had a meal earlier in the day, early in the evening, you will be lighter on the scales in the morning, because you do not put on body fat from a single meal or a single type of food. It's over time, continuously doing the same thing, continuously overeating your calories. That's where your body will start to store body fat. So that's you have to understand. If you go to bed at night at 9 o'clock and drink 2 litres of water, you will be heavier on the scales in the morning, because of that volume that's coming into your body later in the evening. That's the only reason that somebody has this fear of eating late at night, because the scales are suddenly going to change in the morning. The scale weight doesn't matter to a point. You can use it as a guide and a goal as you move forward, and you can take an average for a week, and then it gives you a good oversight to see, okay, where am I going? Am I moving towards my goal, or am I moving a bit away from my goal? Am I gaining a little bit of weight? Am I to drop my calories a little bit, or change my output through my training? So that's, guys, the thing about meal timing. I would say the most important thing about meal timing is around that workout window, have adequate carbohydrate, some form of carbohydrate and protein post-workout. Leave it about an hour and 20 minutes to allow your body to get into that parasympathetic tone, and then the rest of the day just split your meals evenly that suits your schedule, and make sure you're staying within your calories and hitting your macros. That's the most important. Keep thinking about your macros. Am I hitting my carb intake, my protein intake and my fat intake? Really, really important. And don't get tied up in this whole meal timing frequency stuff. That's probably what I would feel is the best approach when it looks at your nutrition. It has to fit within your day. So I hope that makes sense to you guys. If you have any questions, of course, drop a message on this on our social media pages, and we'll be glad to answer it. And again, if you have any topics you'd like me to cover, please just message the page and we will cover them on a weekly basis. No problem. So guys, if you like what you hear, you find us on all our social media platforms, on our YouTube channel, Peak Performance Killarney, and also on our podcast, Reach Your Peak Podcast, with a new one coming out each week. So I hope you have a great week, and hope that helps you with your meal timing going forward.